Mark Smith really is that guy who you really hoped you could be. Like, if you're in a band, you really don't want to care what anyone thinks, but you do. And you really want to be able to crank out a record every 9 months, but you can't. And you'd love to keep surprising people and kind of baffling your critics by, you know, every 3 albums or so turning out your best album.
Yeah, we are the fall and we are the best. Yeah, we are the fall and we are the best. Yeah, we are the fall and we are the best.
Guys see and hear me?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay. Yeah, this is the setup. I'm in the attic of my house.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the room the He-Man Alpha builder guys made for me when I moved in here. And it's a nice Shure KSM mic, a Steinberg preamp going into Audacity, which is about all the tech I can handle. And this is where I do my radio show from.
Oh, awesome.
So the audio is pretty good. And I've actually done quite a bit of animation voiceover from this room. And when I get patched into a board, like in Burbank, they're like, "You're at home?" I go, "Yeah." They go, "The room sounds really good." I go, "Well, we just kind of lucked out." And so what you're seeing is the dark blue is Beacon's mats from the move here, which the guys cut up and padded the room.
Oh,
and
nice.
The other is a bath towel that further deadens the room. So it's the right mix of sharp and soft, and it just makes a really like flat sounding room. Way better than the vocal booth I had in Los Angeles.
Did you have to go somewhere special for that bath towel, or is that custom?
No, right out of the Beacon's moving box. Yeah, I was just trying to figure it out. This room is so dark that what you can't see is there's white bath towels all around just to give the light some bounce. It's one of those rooms where the more you light it, it just sucks light away. So I did some reflectives. And on the table, there's a white towel to, again, bounce light up. Because I'm in here all the time working, doing radio voice work and whatever else.
Well, we got to thank you for spending some time with us. We're fanatics, and to spend time with a fall fanatic is just, it makes our day so much better. I think, are you in Nashville now? Is that right?
Yeah. I've been here for about 4 years and a week.
Okay, because we want to ask you, but we're really interested in your listening habits because we have our own routines, but I'm interested if moving to Nashville had any impact on your seasonal listening habits.
Yes. I don't know if you've ever read any of the boring crap I write about music, but I listen seasonally because it just makes sense. Like some records make sense in hot weather and some don't. And I like to put a lot of rules and regulation into listening just because it brings ceremony to listening. And it's like fake rules I make up for myself. I wouldn't dare impose them on anyone, but I like it for myself. Like, no Joy Division after the last day in February until the first day of September, because it's just not warm. It's not spring. It's not summer music. It's like fall into winter into death music. And I have like fall records for different parts of the year. And it makes it fun, but I do kind of inflict that a bit on my radio show listeners. You go, why is he only playing this Bowie album in November? Because November is when we listen to Station to Station. That's, don't make mother break out the wooden spoon. And so, but in Nashville, I lived in Los Angeles for about 40 years. And I don't know if you've ever been there. Please don't go. But the days are quite often clones of the day before, where the weather becomes anonymous. Like, what's the weather going to be? Cloudless, oven hot, and the seasons, the palm trees turn a slightly more pale shade of green. That's autumn. And like there'll be a couple of days of rain, and you just stand in it. You go outside, like weather finally, or if there's a cloud, everyone goes, "Well, look, look!" Like it's a mothership from another universe because the weather's really it's an oven. It's a desert with stolen water. You can see the film Chinatown for reference. So I come from the East Coast where there's like weather and seasons and people who are who they are. And Nashville is within 2 to 4 degrees of DC almost at all times.
Mm.
And the flora and fauna is almost identical. Maybe some different snakes, but just different subspecies of the same snakes. And there's fireflies, and there's deer and possum and raccoons. There's just critters. And so I'm now getting spring, summer, fall. It snows here. And I haven't had to deal with snow like with a car since, I don't know, 1980. And so it makes me far more aware of like seasons. And so the seasonal listening thing is way more full on here.
Mhm.
And I quite enjoy it because in Los Angeles, I would use the seasonal listening thing to kind of mimic seasonal change. Like it's September, which feels like August, which feels like November. It's an oven.
Yeah.
So you pull out, these records for September. It's like, yay, I'm celebrating September, even though the weather is like hot, blank, and awful.
Yeah.
We're here, September, the leaves start coming off the trees. And the squirrels start, like looking around and start getting the food to bury for the winter. And like, okay, the birds are leaving. And I love it. And that definitely informs my listening. Also, out here, there's just a far lower rate in crime. And in Los Angeles at night, if I'm listening to music, I've got the music on. And so I can't hear if someone is trying to break in. And I'm not paranoid. I've just had people try to break into my house. And that was a fact of my life. Here, it's Nashville. Every single person in my neighborhood, I'm sure, is up to their eyeballs in guns. And if you break into someone's house, a grandmother will shoot you. And so you want crime, you have to drive all the way to Memphis. Where I live, I asked my neighbors, and I said, when I moved here, I go, what's the crime like? Because, in LA, anytime, anywhere, it's your time. And they went, oh, we've never had any crime in this neighborhood. And we've been here since like 1972. Like, okay. And so far, I think some kids tried to liberate some stuff from a parked car down the street from me a few years ago. And that's been about all the drama we've had here. So I can listen with my back to the door and not necessarily be ready for someone to come in. Where in Los Angeles, you really just kind of have that thing.
Yeah.
And the first year I lived here, I'm unpacking. I'm here alone unpacking boxes, and I've made I must work all the time. So I made kind of like a temporary office in this tiny dining room in this little house I live in, just so I have a flat surface and I can get things done. Because I still have to do radio show editing while I'm unpacking. And I'm working away every night and day and unpacking and all of that, which is a lot, And it's like 7 p.m. at night, about 2 weeks after I moved here, the doorbell rings. I literally jump off my chair and hit the floor. So I'm out of the profile of like to put 2 bullets in upper center mass and kill the guy.
Yeah.
And I look out the window of my door, which has this glass panel, which is, I can't wait to get this door replaced with a door that I'm just waiting to get run in on anyway.
Bulletproof?
Well, just not glass. Like every door around here is that kind of oval of stained glass.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure.
Because you're just not expecting.
Midwestern. Yeah.
Yeah. It's friendly people. And so I'm literally behind a wall looking around at the door. And I see these lights like someone has a cell phone, but they're really small people. Like, okay, it's small burglars. And then I hear like some dad outside the window, "Well, honey, I guess no one's home." And I realize it's Halloween. And in Los Angeles, you don't send your kids out to go trick or treating
Yeah.
unless you live in Beverly Hills or Bel Air and you're Warren Beatty's kid and you're going to go over to George Clooney's house and have Halloween, because otherwise your child will never come home again and be found in 4 plastic bags on the 405, and Bill Curtis will do an unsolved mysteries thing about it on A&E. And so I never had trick-or-treaters at my house because I lived behind a retaining wall and a gate for safety's sake. And here, it's the real America where people come over.
Yeah.
Ding dong. I'm like, "What?" So they're like, "I just want to welcome you to the neighborhood." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." I'm trembling, you know? The adrenaline is like back of my mouth. And that's
Did you give them some 7 inches, the kids, just as a
Yeah.
little?
Yeah, no way. Are you kidding? Like, what's a 4-year-old gonna do with a Misfits 7-inch?
Yeah.
But it's been great living here, and it's been great for listening just because I don't have to kinda have my eyes in the back of my head all the time.
Mm, mm.
And so and also my listening room, I bought this house from a guy, and, he kinda made it one room into a party room, and he put commercial grade electricity into the room.
Oh,
'Cause he had, like a big TV and all of this home entertainment thing, which is kind of a crazy thing to do for a house, but if you have a high output stereo system, that's what your amps want. They want a
yeah.
fire hose of juice, not a garden hose, which is normal home electricity. So when I got the place, the inspector came in and said, "Well, for some reason, you have commercial grade electricity in this room." And my road manager was out here. He went, "Man, your stereo's gonna kill in this room." And the sound difference is noticeable. More mid, more separation, just
Sure.
like the amps are just like flowing better to the speakers. So to take a short answer and tie too long a tail onto the end of the kite, listening here has been fantastic. Really, really cool.
Well, since we're talking about tension a little bit, I was wondering if I could read you a Marky Smith quote, and you could maybe relate it to some of your experiences with, maybe film or music in situations that might have been intentionally tensioned up in
Okay.
order to maybe get it. So he says, "I wanted to do something instantaneous. I wanted to go back to the old fall way of recording songs, straight off the top of our heads. I thought we were getting a bit restricted by Hex, and it was so thought out and planned and like inventive, and that's why I shuffled the band around this time. I didn't want the same reproduced sound twice. I excluded some of the band from certain tracks, I shuffled them around a bit, and I used some of the outside musicians. All of the fall are on the record, but not all of them are on every track. The band weren't even familiar with some of the songs. We just went in and did them, and which is the way we always used to operate in the good old days. And I think it served to stir them up a bit, and I suppose a contrary bastard, and I like to do the opposite of what I've just done. And that's from around the time of Room to Live. But Steve and I were wondering if you have any experiences where, that tension was ratcheted up intentionally to get some sort of other side of a performance or something along those lines.
The short answer is no. I kind of know that about Mark E. Smith. Like in that book, The Fallen, all
Mm,
those dropped band members describe like, "Yeah, I came out of the men's room and like the tour van left me."
yeah.
Like, well, someone got left in Sweden or something, you know that story.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and quite often, you see him on stage, he's like, going up to the stringed instrument players, like detuning them or like, going to their cabinets and
Yeah.
like just twiddling knobs and causing chaos. And I've always been in bands where the idea was uniformity.
Okay.
And I'm not saying we're trying to sound like other people, but all the bands I've ever been in, the big deal was the show.
Mm,
Where, as I used to say about Black Flag, we were kinda like King Crimson meets the Tet Offensive, where it's, like, really gnarly, but we want it to be precise like a watch, like King Crimson,
yeah.
where Fripp really was an authoritarian on rhythm and keeping it really tight, and Black Flag strove to be completely controlled on stage. where the songs would be played really precisely because they're basically designed to break an audience and the singer and the drummer. And so if we're sloppy, we're not serving the music. And I kind of took that ethos into my own bands because I just liked it. So there's never a situation where, like with David Bowie with Lodger, where I think for Boys Keep Swinging, he went, all right, everyone's going to switch instruments. And everyone, he's got a great band. So the drummer can kind of play bass and the guitar player can kind of do keyboards or whatever. And you hear them kind of drunkenly staggered through a song where it's barely together, but it attains this feel that they couldn't have gotten any other way. And it seems to me the Fall did that routinely. And I'm trying to, maybe it's in the big midweek, or maybe it's in the fall, and where they were at the Reading Festival or something. And they found a drummer from another band and said, okay, you're in the Fall today.
Right.
And like 45 minutes later, this terrified guy is like one of Chuck Berry's bands when he comes to town, suddenly, the local players are in a band. And apparently they pulled it off.
Yeah.
And it seems to me as a player, it would be nerve-wracking to always be tested that way. But there's something about the Fall records up to a certain point. I'm not in any way trying to disparage the Fall, but the last several Fall records were anti that idea of like, keep it fresh, go off balance. You're not playing on this song. This new guy's going to play for one song only, where everyone's kind of like, what the hell's going on? When they lost that, like Imperial Wax Solvent and all of that, the singer became somewhat divorced from the band, where it sounds like the players came in on one day and the singer came in on another day and they never met. And I find that separation really making me as a listener wanting for that insane communication the Fall had. And as you probably do, I've got a lot of records and I'm older than you. I'm really old. So I've heard a lot of records. And so I have a lot of records. I've heard a lot of records. I'm not trying to brag, but the point I'm making is I've heard a lot. I've seen a lot. I have a lot. And some of the best records I've ever heard are Fall records. And I'm comparing to the Velvet Underground and Dylan and the Stooges and Fugazi and you stack up Fall records to David Bowie records, or like put it, this sounds outrageous, but you would understand. Bob Dylan, he wrote a few cool songs, of course. He has nothing on Mark E. Smith.
Yeah.
And Mark E. Smith will never get the recognition that Dylan, deserves. But Mark E. Smith is as brilliant and far more brilliant more often, way, in my opinion, more unique. And I love Dylan. I was raised on that music. My mom was, buying those records as they were coming out. But the Fall have made some of the best records I've ever heard. And I work at it. I listen to a lot of music. And all those records I love, that the Fall records still kind of beat the paint off a lot of them. Well, yeah, and it's where you listen. Well, my experience is I listen to certain Fall records, and it's as if I've never heard them 50,000 times before.
Yes,
I'm still as astonished at the level of sheer genius of them. Then I'm one of those people who can listen to Perverted by Language kind of every day.
Yeah.
It's just that's my go-to. I don't know why. As soon as I heard it, I went, that's my record. I love the Fall records, but that one, I don't know. I just think there's not an amazing, there's nothing on it that's not amazing. Every second is just right where it's supposed to be. And I was talking to one of the Hanleys on that Oh Brother podcast. I go like, tell me about they had no questions for me, of course. So I said, talk about.
We enjoyed that though.
Oh,
you started interviewing them, and it was great.
They came to me and said, be on our podcast. And I knew they weren't going to do any research. And I knew they knew like nothing about me. So I go, you guys have nothing, no questions. They're like, well, no. I'm like, that no problem. No problem. I got this. And I said, Perverted by Language. They went, that was like 3 days. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I hate your guts. Like, how do you make something like that in 3 days for $2,500? And so every time I listen to Perverted by Language or Hex Induction or even Total's Turns or Live at the Witch Trials and on, I just keep just wondering, like, wow, what a band. I'm just amazed over and over. Like, I keep getting slapped by the same thing, and it's like I've never been slapped before. And I don't know if I have that experience with other bands where The Fall, it always sounds new to me, even though I've heard the record, for decades at this point. And I think one of the ways they attained that, because you listen to how the musicians are relating to each other, like what the guitar is doing, what the bass player is doing, how the drummer's wrapping himself in. And The Fall, they had great drummers. Like, they had kind of the best musicians in those early lineups is the drummer. Just really intuitive and gives the bass player and the guitar player all kinds of room to make things. Like, if you're writing Hip Priest at sound check, like off like a hi-hat thing that was like Hanley was just kind of back there, like, I got a thing, and suddenly they're making Hip Priest, which is one of the greatest songs. Like, Mozart has nothing on Hip Priest. and maybe it's that keeping the band unsure if they're going to be in the band tomorrow or unsure what is going to happen at the recording session, which is probably awful, for someone with an ulcer, but maybe a great way, a way of doing music. For myself, I would not want to exist in "you might be replaced this weekend."
Yes, right.
I kind of thrive on tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We're going to be at band practice and we're all going to want to kill the bass player, but we're going to get through this. And that was quite the case. Or like Suffer, whoever, or they're all suffering me or whatever. And I don't mind that kind of drama. But what Mark E. Smith would put those band members through, where he's almost against his own band members, like, screw these guys. That's a bit much for me, but it obviously worked for The Fall. I mean, if that was the way those records turned out to be, like, kind of first Velvet Underground magic.
It seemed like the band was on edge a lot of the times, and it created an edge to the sound in some way. And I'm also wondering, Henry, what your perspective is on The Fall jumping around to different record labels, because it's very interesting. They were always doing whatever they wanted, or Mark was always finding like a different source of support that always allowed them to do what they wanted. So I was wondering what your perspective is on that.
I have one. And I think you just posed one side, the point, where they would keep finding new opportunities. But why are you leaving these labels? It's that song "Leave the Capital." It's about leaving a label. I think Mark was able to find fault on pretty much every label he was ever on. Because if you read the interviews, we had to leave Rough Trade. Why? Like, they're a bunch of hippies. No, they're not. Like, it's a great label. And I would hate to read any of him slagging off Beggar's Banquet.
Right.
It was one of the best rollouts any band ever had on any label.
So
Every
cool.
record looked cool.
Yeah.
Every song was great. There's no bad songs of The Fall in the Beggar's Banquet era.
No.
And that label didn't sleep doing things for The Fall. Like the box set for the 2 7-inch records and this and that, and like the 7-inch, the 10-inch, the 12-inch, the LP, 80 B-sides, the A-side and B-side compilation records. I mean, I could live on The Fall's Beggars era. It's just such good music, and Bricks ends up being this amazing asset to the band. And they slugged it out for The Fall. And I'm sure there's an interview somewhere. We had to leave Beggar's Banquet. You're like, why? And I think if he hangs around with someone longer than 2 minutes, he'll just find fault. I just don't think he can help himself. Like, everyone who's ever said a nice thing about them, like Sonic Youth, like some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Diehard Fall fans. They went and did a Peel session of Fall songs. Hooray, it's fun. And Mark Smith, they said, "Hey, what do you think?" And he's like, "Oh my God, they're the worst band." Like, what's your problem? Like, what do you
Yeah.
think of Nick Cave? "Oh my God, he's the worst guy." And like
Yeah.
when I met Nick Cave in the birthday party days, I said, "What bands, rated with you? Like when you started out?" He said, "The Fall." I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, that blew my mind."
Yeah.
And you can kind of hear it, like Boys Next Door and Early Fall with the
Mm.
keyboard. Like
Mhm.
you kind of hear Early Fall a little bit.
Yeah.
And when someone says something nice about Mark, it's like waving the red handkerchief in front of a bull, like you're going to get the horns. And
Yeah.
and so I think Mark found a reason to leave a lot of
Mm.
labels and created an opportunity because maybe labels, they want the Fall on their roster because it's cool. And maybe some labels thought we're going to be the label who Mark is going to like.
Right.
But I think that like the Beggar's Banquet deal, kind of like it was like 5 albums and whatever else. I think it just came to an end,
Sure.
but they probably moved a lot of records. So it was good for the band, good for the label and all of that. But if you read interviews with Mark E. Smith, he kind of slags off every label he was ever on. They're
Yeah.
hippies, they don't promote enough, or they promote too much. You're like, "Well, whatever, man." And so he would find new opportunities because he would close out the previous opportunity by
Mm.
turning on it.
Mm.
And that's, I'm just going from the data, I'm just going from,
Right.
what I've read where like, why are you ripping on these labels? It seems to me they all kind of bled out of the mouth for the Fall.
Right. I think even Cherry Red was I think it was like 30 year or 20 years, 25 years that they wanted the Fall until they got the Fall. And it was like Mark was making different choices. And it's also kind of interesting because Mark wanted an excuse to change it up again. I mean, as he always did. He always wanted an excuse to change it up again. And if he couldn't change the band a lot, maybe changing the label was like another mechanism to throw another, fresh
Right.
little switch up in there.
Maybe he was doing the same thing with labels, which what he was
Yeah.
doing. And you're like, you can change like 3 people in your band and still get down the road. But a record label, there's one.
Right.
And changing it, it's like, trying to push a car and make it
Yeah.
roll. Like you can do it. It's just going to take a lot of effort. It's going to be a
Yeah.
slower thing to move out of your way because there's paperwork and you just can't go to the pub
Yeah.
and have an argument and get punched out and like, that's
Yeah.
it. The guy's out of the band. And so maybe Mark didn't care about how well things were going. Maybe that was a sign of like we're taking it easy was a danger sign.
Yeah.
It always made me wonder about the song "My New House."
Yeah.
So I remember reading an interview when that record, when that song, whatever record that was, and I remember I was in England or somewhere. Is either Enemy or Sounds, and they did this kind of almost like a home and garden article about him. Well, Mark can now afford art, so he has a few paintings, and I think it's like some of the cover artwork for some of the Fall records.
Oh, yeah.
And he had bricks, and like they're kind of a good-looking rock and roll couple, and he has this house. Like Mark has made it. He's an established part of the landed gentry, and there he
Yeah.
kind of was okay with that interview because they're just like, "Wow, you have a house and you have artwork," and he's like, "Have you seen my new house?" And whenever I hear that song, I'm like, you had that moment where you kind of bought in.
Mm.
Because a guy like him having a mortgage, like my old promoter in Australia said, "You know what made Marky Smith so consistently great?" I'm like, "I don't know. What?" And he said he's never more than 3 weeks away from not being able to pay his rent. He
Yeah.
was never able to take it easy. And I know musicians that way. I'm 64. I know musicians who are like 70,
Mm.
68, and they're still within a month of like, "Oh no,
Right.
I have no rent money." And it just keeps them like, "Hey, you want to do a show? No.
Right.
Need a drummer? You don't play drums. I'll learn." And they're always kind of desperate.
Yeah.
And there's that what's it's on that The Unutterable. Whereas there's that line, "I have my Amex card, although it's been turned down
Oh,
So
yeah, Dr. Buck's letter, yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I played that on the radio show just a few weeks ago because Cherry Red is doing that multi-CD set of The Unutterable.
Mhm.
And you hear him, and he's like an old-ass man at that point, or at least a grown-up man. And he's talking about who gets an Amex card declined. I mean, you can be stealing a car, and they'll still take your Amex card. And that kinda makes him always kinda
Mhm.
leaning into it because he's got no choice because the rent is due in 2 weeks.
Mm,
And so,
mhm.
like, I gotta go do a gig.
Yeah, and he always had the responsibility to pay his band members too. Like he
Or
wasn't necessarily
not
loyal to them, but he wanted to be able to pay everybody.
I'm not gonna name names, but people talk to me.
Yeah,
And I was talking to one ex-Fall member
yeah,
in Manchester, and I was, before I went on stage, he called the venue, "Can I come to the show?" We put him on the guest list. And I said, "Why did you leave? Like, what
yeah.
happened?" Because he said, "I grew up with Mark, we did drugs together all through school, and we
Mm.
did acid together," and he had all these insane stories. And I go, "What happened?" He goes like, "I love Mark, but it's the money. He just doesn't pay. Like,
Oh,
he rips you off."
hmm,
And then and I'm not gonna name this person, but he goes, "He just doesn't pay you," and he would do things like he would keep the VAT, the value added tax. He would
mm,
keep the VAT from shows and, like, get in trouble, with his taxes because
yeah,
he's just a crazy guy like that, and I think, whatever, punk rock, man, I don't know what what that is, but I think it's a stressor,
mm,
and when Mark will kinda cut you off for 50 pounds, and
yeah.
I asked some other people, like, "What was it, and how come you won't tell me this, this, or this?" He said, and they would say, "Too painful.
Oh, I
To
see.
divulge that, too painful."
Yeah.
And so there's probably a lot of unpleasantness at some points with Mark, and it seemed that money was a thing,
Mm,
and I'm not trying
yeah,
to talk trash, but from what people, members have told me, they go, "Yeah, I love the guy, and I miss being in the band, but I just can't work with him because I have a family,
right.
and, like, I got bills."
Mhm.
And so
Do you
but
think that played a part of like how he credited songs as well? So that, royalties and things like that? Like, because it's always a mess of who's on what song, who gets a credit for it and not or not.
good question, and I think there's a really easy way to solve that problem because I wonder if writing those songs wasn't exactly chaos,
Mm,
but the drummer came up with a thing, and then the guitar player said, "Well, we could do this." And
mm.
then the bass player just made up a whole bass line, and Mark, dipped into his plastic bag and pulled out a lyric,
Yeah,
right? The trash
yeah,
bag of lyrics, the
yeah,
carry bag. And so it's a group effort. And, you wanna have easier times in the band room, in the
mm,
van to the show, just credit everyone, like
Yeah.
Black
yeah, yeah,
Sabbath, like the
yeah,
Rollins band. Like,
yeah,
we even towards the end, we we cut in our sound man. 'Cause we
yeah,
reckoned that we
yeah,
wouldn't sound that way to people. Again, the live thing is the premium. We wouldn't sound the way we do if it wasn't for Teo. So we said, "Teo,
yeah,
how about 20% of the publishing?" And, like, this is unheard of. But, like, we love the guy, and he's, like, in the thick of it with us every night, and he's in the
yeah,
van suffering, and I wrote all the lyrics, and
mhm.
usually the bass player wrote kinda all the riffs, but the drummer, like, what? You're not gonna What, he's not in the practice room,
Yeah,
for 7 hours a day? Like, and so the logic, and it just made all of that really easy to deal with. And there's some
mm,
bands you can read about it, I'm not gonna name names, where they did that, like the Commune
mm,
thing. And then someone in the band went back years later and said, "You wanna keep me in the band?" And they went, "Yeah." He said, "Then you're gonna have to retroactively redo the songs because I wrote all the lyrics, so I'm getting half of the publishing." And the fact is,
mm,
he did write all of the lyrics, and sometimes he wrote kinda sort of the whole song. And the band had to go, "Okay," because he's the meal ticket. Without him, no one wants to hear that guy's solo record, the guitar player. And so they just had to suck it up. And he did that with his band members, and all of them don't need money. But someone got in his head and said, hey, you wrote those lyrics. And so if Mark had been a little cooler, maybe, and just put everyone's name on those songs, where, you'll see some musicians, they would put themselves on songs, or sometimes producers. Kim Fowley. You would hang out with and just say, you should put a but at the beginning of that lyric, but I'm going to leave you or something. And he would cut himself in for a publishing credit. And like years later, like the Runaways and all these people going like, no, he didn't write anything. He said, put a hand clap there, and he put himself on the freaking publishing, and we didn't know. There's been some people like that. I'll say that about Fowley because he's gone, but there's some people who really insinuated themselves into songs, and it's not cool. But maybe a lot of those fall tracks were more of a group effort than Mark would have liked to have admitted. Certainly the lyric is his. But when you see it's just like, Smith Scanlon or, something like that, you're like, well, I would have liked to have been in the band room and been an umpire or a ref in that play. Because those songs, everyone is putting so much into those tracks. It'd be hard to say, really? It was just you and the guitar player? Come on, man.
Especially when a certain song, like the bass rips and there's not a bassist on the lyrics. And you're like, how did you just excluded him on purpose? Like,
well, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Stir it up.
And maybe with the money, he wasn't on his best day. It could have been a way to keep the band members kind of pissed off, a little hungry, kind of ready to leave. Because when you get to a certain age, rent becomes mortgage. I like you becomes I do. There's kids and then there's lawyers and, real life. And, that's a band that kind of grew up into adulthood together. Like that killer lineup, Scanlon, Hanley, and all of that. I would be willing to bet if you could get them away from a microphone and just talk about true life, if finances would not come up in the conversation and some sour grapes about maybe being treated less than generously by the band's de facto leader. And, this is just speculation, but I've read about it more than once. And the guy was breathing right in front of me telling me this.
Henry, can we ask you about producing spoken word albums, great spoken word albums, and what you think of Mark's solo albums, which are in somewhere in a domain of that?
It is. And so those records remind me of those straight to micro cassette dictaphone snatches you hear.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Suddenly, like he's sitting on a bus and it's a bunch of noise and like a man sits down, click. Like, okay. But I have those records, of course. And I found them kind of hard to listen to. Where you just kind of have to really concentrate just to hang in there. Where they sound like what Burroughs used to do, like with Naked Lunch, where he just takes the manuscript, throws it in the air, and where it lands, like he takes it to the printer.
It's very much a collage. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and and I saw him do a spoken word show once at a music festival in '96 in Holland. And he came out on stage with all this crumpled paper. He was completely, 9 sheets to the wind.
Sure.
He reads like 3 pages. People are sitting like just, you can hear hair growing, the respect that people have for this guy. And it was, I forget what album era it was, but there's that one line in like, maybe it's in Hey Student or something where it's like, you read Viz magazine. Okay. That lyric was on that piece of paper. You read Viz magazine. And I'm like, I know Viz from being in England so much. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, Viz magazine. Oh, yeah, okay. And he reads for like 6 minutes and he walks off stage. and the promoter hemorrhages because he's supposed to be on for 45 minutes. He's flown in from England, and the auditorium is packed.
Yeah.
And so he runs away, this guy named Luis. Luis runs away and somehow gently cajoles Mark back onto stage. He's thrown his pieces of paper everywhere. Me, being the good co-leader, I've gathered all of it. And I'm holding it like a guy.
Put it in order?
No, I just kind of picked it up and rescued it from the floor. And I'm holding it out like the guy grabbing the baton in the race. And he gives me this look of anger, snatches the paper away from me, goes on stage, shuffles it for a solid 2 minutes. And then he takes the mic and says, "With Dutch ale, we will prevail. Thank you. Good night." Stage again.
That's a good move.
And that was the whole show.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of went, "Well, that's all we're getting." Hey. And that was it. And I was told later by Luis that he went to his room, basically passed out because he'd been drinking, and it was not seen for like 24 hours. And then basically got up, went to the airport and left.
Oh,
And that was kind of, but before that, he was in this kind of green room backstage area. It's European. Everyone's like, "Hello, darling," and hanging out.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go up to him because I don't want to say, "Hey, Mark, I like your music," to have him, diss me. Because I've been around him before. And I was at a concert once with the Fall were headlining. It was in Germany, 87. Bad Seeds were on the bill, the Swans, the Hout. And we had a night off. And the same promoter who's putting on the show was putting on our German shows. So we kind of like blagged our way in. "Hey, we're the band." And we all kind of, band and crew and opening band, all kind of slid into this show for free. And Brix and Mark are standing like in a doorway, kind of glaring at people. Like, "We dare you to come up to us so we can insult you." And I see them, I'm like, and I'm not going over there. And, it was a great night. And sadly, we had to drive all night to get somewhere. So we couldn't stay and see the fall, but we kind of stayed up until the fall. And then our road manager said, like, "Hey, we really do got to go."
Yeah.
And so, but I just remember that. And I saw Mark again because we're both on this festival. And I'm like, I'm not going up there. I just don't need the aggravation. And he came up to me. I'm like, okay. Shook the hand and we hung out. They're like, "Let's get a drink." I'm like, all right. And I don't drink alcohol. So he bought me an orange juice. He bought me a drink. So I've got my fresh squeezed orange juice. He's got 2 beers and a cigarette. And Blixa Bargeld from Meistersinger de Neubauten was doing a spoken word thing on stage. This was basically a poetry and music festival. And so we go into this auditorium. It's packed because, Blixa Bargeld. Blixa's doing his thing, and he's using sound effects. He's got a sound guy running thing. It sounded amazing to me. And everyone is like listening with rapt attention. And I think Parker Penn, the pen company, he co-sponsored the gig. And so Mark has a cigarette and 2 beers. And everyone is like very quiet, listening to Blixa. "Henry, did you get a free pen?" And I actually did. I'm like, and I said, "Here, take mine." Like anything for you to shut up. Because now everyone is turning to look at who's the drunk guy talking.
Yeah.
And
Also, I didn't get a pen.
and everyone turns and looks at us and goes, "Shh." And Mark just raises his beer to them. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm trying to get away from him because I just don't want to be next to the guy who's going to get tossed out of the room. A minute later, "He is not very good, is he, Henry?" I'm like, God, shut up. I'm kind of trying to drift away from him. Like, I don't know him. And eventually either we left or got kicked out, but like we're out of the show back in that common area. And he was very kind to me. I just said, "Hey, thanks for all the great records." And a while later, someone said, "Did you read this? What Mark Smith said about you?" I'm like, oh no. And so he said, Henry Rollins is an effing lunatic. I'm sorry, I'm not going to curse on your show. Henry Rollins is an effing lunatic who goes on stage and tries to be me.
What?
Like, really?
Uh,
High and grabbing the bass player's tuning pegs? Not so I want the tuning pegs in my face. No. There's not a day in my life I've tried to be like Marky Smith. And so, and I asked one of the Hanleys about that. I go, what did I do? He said, nothing. You know, that's just Mark, man. And so I guess he was just a prickly character. You know, I was watching something online. There's like hours of him online now. And he's on with like some football announcers.
a football show. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, they're all like being, you know, they're just like, he's our guest who actually knows something about football.
Right.
And one of them just asks him a question, and it's all very kind of professional BBC, like, well, Mark, what do you think will happen this season?
Yeah,
and he just starts, oh, yeah, well, your show isn't very good, is it? Like, he just starts, why are you wearing that shirt? And like, that
his haircut, I think. His haircut was wrong for Mark.
Like that. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And like, they're all just kind of gently, ha, ha, ho, ho, well, Mark.
Right.
You're a jolly lad. They're just kind of being grand and British. And he won't stop.
He won't stop though. He's like just prodding him.
Like, well, he sees a crack in the armor.
Oh, that's right.
And he just goes in.
Yeah.
And you realize, man, you just turn people into special projects.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And if you're friendly and you hang around enough, you'll become a special project. And I know another musician like that, who, if you talk to him about anybody he's ever been in a band with, even if that band member has passed away, he'll go, yeah, well, you know, he wasn't very good. Like, really? He's one of the best guitar players I've ever seen. You should really have some respect.
Yeah. What?
Like one of the best musicians ever. Is like, yeah, oh, that guy. Like, that guy? That guy would help arrange your records. Like, he's the reason you have xylophone on that track is because that guy.
Right.
And some people just do that. Where they just, if the person's not in the room, they just kind of say something. And maybe that's just what kept Mark sharp, you know, all those years. Like, you know, like he never cozied up like to a journalist.
Yeah.
Like they said, wow, you've done like 150 Peel sessions. And I think the answer was, I've never even met him. You're like, okay, take it easy, man. And I think they met once at like some Peel thing, like Smith showed up.
Right.
But it's like, you know, John Peel, who, you know, will rip anyone a new one. You know, he would always say the greatest things about the Fall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hence the title of that Pringle book, you need to have them all. You have to get all the records to understand the Fall. And Mark Smith just, you know, takes one of his biggest fans and facilitators of his music. Like all the Peel sessions takes up like what, 6.5 hours?
Yeah.
That's a box set that needs the vinyl treatment for sure.
I agree. Totally.
It would be a suitcase, but I would show up. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Gotta have it.
Yeah. And one day they just might. But he kind of like dashed off John Peel in like half a sentence. I never met him, which wasn't true. Wow. Like, that's John Peel. A, have some respect. B, that guy kind of rocked your world, man. For decades, he really believed in you. And I think it was only upon his sad passing that there's no more Fall Peel sessions.
Right.
It wasn't John Peel going, I don't like the Fall anymore. It's like, whoops, I died. See, I'm not trying to insult the guy. I think it's what kept Mark maybe always fresh. Like, he never relaxed. He never got comfortable. And he's never going to say, hey, we're pals. Because he just needs to keep a somewhat adversarial relationship with record labels, band members, the press. Because, you know, there'd be mixed reviews of some Fall records. Those British reviewers can be really caustic. Like NME can just like build a band up and like try to destroy them. Yeah. And like they would bucket Mark now and then. You know, where I would completely disagree with the review. Like, are you kidding? Like the record's much, like, I wouldn't want to buy that record having read your review, but I have the record and you're wrong about everything you said. You'd see him do interviews with the press people and he's just not going to sit down and purr like a cat. Like, you can't pet this guy.
Right.
Like, he's not coming in for dinner. Like the wolf that will only come like within 10 feet of the campfire. Like he remains in a way feral.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
in a way, Iggy, all the way
Sure.
up until a few years ago, he was really, press people are sucking up to him. He's like, yeah, whatever, man. You're like,
Yeah.
okay. Like he just keeps it real. And I don't know of any artist who is ever like that, so pure, besides like Miles Davis, who made these amazing records, of course. But like he's calling the press, he's like calling these, that was his operative word for talking about anybody.
Yeah.
And he was like a swan, beautiful, graceful, and will fight.
Yeah.
And some of his records, like some of his, like On the Corner, like one of the greatest records ever, and a great Miles record, got like all these 1-star reviews. Like, what's Miles thinking? Like
Right.
he's reinventing himself, pal. That's what a real artist does.
Right.
Like The Fall did. Always different, always the same. Miles Davis was never friendly, to anyone at Columbia, press people, fans. Like he just was always like arm's length. I think in the case of Miles and maybe Mark E. Smith, neither of them do I know. It's how you protect your art.
Mm-hmm.
Like you never let it sit still. You never give it to anyone, not even the band members. And you always keep everyone kind of spooked, nervous, and on their best behavior, lest they get insulted, fired, left at a gas station in Scandinavia. It could have just been protective. And as the kids say, keeping it real. And that's one thing you can say about Mark Smith. Like one record producer once said to me, like, Henry, are you a fan of Frank Sinatra? I'm like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't have any Frank records. He said, really? You should go. Here's like 10 Frank Sinatra records you need to buy today. And he was right, actually. I go, why are you selling me on Frank Sinatra? He said, find one Frank Sinatra song where he's not completely intense. I never thought of that. And then when you listen to Frank Sinatra, he's gnarly. He's really intense. And then you read about him. He was a jerk to people.
Yeah.
And I think, but beautiful to music, but mean to everything else. And maybe that's Mark's story where, because you read the interviews, the only thing that he really stood up for was the music.
Yeah, the band, right.
Where the music, the music's more important than those playing it. If I have to fire everyone to keep myself off balance and kick my own ass, I'll do it. Maybe that's where he realized he's not immune to fault. So we better cut 3 people from the band loose and get that guy I met at a pub and have him be the drummer tonight. So I get desperate again because The Fall, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
No, not at all.
I'm sure you actually had questions. I apologize.
No, it's all about The Fall. It's good with us.
But if you notice, and I know you know this, The Fall would go through these 2 or 3 album phases with with a producer,
yeah.
with a certain sound, like Middle Class Revolt. And what's the album that came after it? Without going to Spain.
Cerebral Caustic is there, Infotainment Scan are all kind of the same.
Infotainment Scan and Middle Class Revolt. It kind of sounds like one session.
Yes, agreed.
I love those records. I love Infotainment Scan. That's one of my take me to my happy place records of the fall.
Yeah.
A summer record for me. And it's just great in every way.
Yeah.
Lost in Music, forget it. It's just the whole thing is great. But it is of the same carved ivory tusk that is also Middle Class Revolt. And I think it's the same producer and the same headspace, where it's coming from the same big pot of stew, the same notebook and the same kind of idea moment. And then the band moves on and whoops, they lost a drummer and they picked up someone else and there's a new producer.
Yep.
But he will, like that great American who does White Lightning, like what's his name?
Oh, Craig Leon. We listened to a great interview you did with him. He's a great dude. I mean, he's cool.
Craig's amazing. He remembers everything. He's not insane. And he's done
great stories.
like a ton of different music. First Ramones album, first Suicide album. I mean, come on.
But experimental ambient music, that's unbelievable.
His orchestral stuff. I mean, like his solo records, he has a new one. He just wrote me, he has a new one coming out soon. And he said, would you put it on your radio show? I'm like, of course I will. Like Lecky,
Lecky,
Like he would do, Mark would be with a producer for sometimes more than a record.
Yeah.
And there would be these kind of, where you do like two years or 2 album cycles with the same guy. I don't know if this is the same studio, but same producer.
Sure.
And so he would remain in a creative moment for longer than an album. And maybe that was his threshold. Like, okay, this record, and he knows this record sounds like the one before. The stove is too hot. I got to jump off. And so we got to lose a producer and like find a way to piss him off. Like, where they're never going to work again. And what's the album where he insisted on mastering off the cassette at the wrong speed? And it was a Lecky produced record.
It was towards the end of Lecky's tenure too, because
it was the last record because Lecky said we're never working. He said he's never spoken to him again. And
Cherry
that's right. Just reissued it at the right speed.
Oh, did they really?
That's cool.
Is it Ben Sinister?
I think Ben Sinister. Yeah.
And so the version we grew up with is a cassette at the wrong speed. And Mark called him all kinds of choice words on the phone. And Lecky's like, I need this. Like, he produced the first Adverts record. Like Lecky is no slouch. If you look at his recorded output, the guy got a lot of work.
That's right.
And so he managed to piss Lecky off. And I don't know how it ended with him and Craig Leon. I'm sure Craig would tell you. But he works intensely with people for a while. And I think once the band and the man get too comfortable, Mark goes, all right, I'm just going to like pull the tablecloth and like take all the tableware and smash it on the floor. And everyone will be pissed off. But so what? The music needs to be shook up for it to remain real. And I think there's not a single record Mark ever did that wasn't kind of sort of exactly the record he wanted to make. Even if it was something kind of commercial like Hit the North or those, the occasional cover, which would become an A-side like Victoria or There's a Ghost in My House, which were really, interesting choices. I asked one of the Hanleys, I go, why are people grudgeful? And there was something, another song I asked about 2 songs. And he said, oh, that was just some best of ska CD that Mark bought on sale at HMV. And I go, do you remember the name? And I think it's on the podcast. And I went right to Amazon or eBay or something, and I bought it.
Yeah.
And like, there's 2 songs from that CD that The Fall covered. Why Are People Grudgeful? And another one, maybe Kimball.
Yeah. Sure. It was just on it was in the jukebox.
And he made really interesting choices in covers. And with Beggar's Banquet, they would make them into A-sides. And if you look at the charts and all of that, covers seem to work for The Fall, which said to me, BBC and the powers that be, they wanted a Fall song they could play. Like all the labels go, Iggy, just give us something we can use. Everyone wants to put you on the radio, and so Iggy does Real Wild Child.
Yep.
And they go, thank you, dude. Like all we want is half a reason because you have fans. And I think so many people in the music world, they go, give us a Fall song that's not 7 minutes. Like where there's a verse and a chorus and a shape. Normal people might be able to understand.
Somewhat accessible, just somewhat.
Somewhat accessible. Give us come out of the water, just your nose.
Yes. Yeah.
And then go be the Loch Ness Monster, for the rest of the time.
Right.
And so I think Mark didn't necessarily flirt with success, but at some points it was logical enough. Like, okay, we'll do There's a Ghost in My House. We'll do Victoria. And the record label went, oh, cool. And they ran with it.
Yeah.
Where Mark wasn't necessarily thinking A-side. And as user-friendly as Mark ever got, I think was the Beggar's Banquet era, because they really did do that. It's all about charts. And that's why you'll see the A-side 10-inch, 12-inch, 7-inch, because the A-side gets the recorded sale. But if you're a fan, you're going to buy the 7-inch because it's got this song. The 12-inch has 2 live tracks, and the 10-inch has this track. But it's but the recorded
to get the sales numbers up.
Yes, and
Each
I learned
one.
that because I'm the record collector guy with a lot of questions. And when I started going to England as a performer, with my meager savings, I'm buying, the Generation X 7-inch, the 12-inch, and going, why? Is it just to get me to buy more things? They're like, well, yeah. But, of course, but it's also a chart position. And, I'm one of those people where the charts mean nothing to me because I've never been on one. And where other people, that's a big deal. And so the Beggars Banquet era, they really kind of worked the fall almost in an indie mainstream way. 7-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch, special thing. This song is only on this. And Mark went with it for 5 albums. Maybe there was some moments where, I can't read the guy's mind, but where he would look at a lot of the soft crap that would get up the charts. And it's not for me to name names of any bands, but like in the 80s in England, there was a lot of like, really, man? Are you kidding me? Like that sold 6,000 tickets? This crap. Where Mark E. Smith looks at them and like, well, why not me? Why not the fall? We're easily better than all these bands, which is probably true. But a lot of those bands had that kind of like Reagan era splashy money success. You're like, really? This is crap. And and they're playing like, headlining Reading. You're like, really? And I wonder if Mark, there's moments like where his anger was up going like, really? I want in because like, screw you guys. And where it wasn't, I want to cozy up, is like, I want to kick some ass because it's obvious we're better than all of these freaking hacks. And I would agree. And I'm not saying he ever thought that, but making a video for Mark E. Smith or covering a song and permitting it to be an A-side, that says to me, that's an angry guy going like, me too this month.
As a record collector and a completist like Steve and I are there any prized fall possessions you have? I know you're like a collector of flyers and bills and things like that too.
Yeah,
Do you have anything cool?
I'm a paper guy. Like I'm I sweat over flyers and posters and handbills. Like literally lose sleep, will drive 8 hours just to touch a piece of paper.
What's the farthest you've gone to go get something?
I've gone to, flown to Europe just to like meet the guy and see the collection.
Cool.
That text I was finishing when we just met. I am trying to meet this guy hours and hours away from me. I want to meet him this coming Saturday. I've been talking to this guy about his collection for about 5 years. And he looks like needs some money. He goes, I just have all my stuff in boxes. I don't know what to do with it anymore. I know what you should do with it.
I got a spot.
I got a guy. I got a guy for that. It's me. And so I just text him and he's like, some of those collector guys are very, Spectrum, kind of kooky. So I said, look, man, I'm not trying to freak you out, but I will drive up there. Let's go to lunch and let's just meet. I would just like to sit in a room with you and like we can look at each other's faces. So as far as the fall, the only rare thing I have a single-sided acetate for one side of a 12-inch. And I think you can find it on Discogs. And it's the actual copy. And so I saw it on Discogs and then it came up on eBay. And, the guy had big dreams. Like he wanted way too much money. Because, as you know, fall fans are not exactly fat in the wallet. Fall fans work for a living. And so
that's right.
He wanted a lot of money for this.
Yeah.
And I wrote him, I said, pal, I'm one of those like sad men who like worry about this kind of thing. And I guarantee you're never going to get nearly that money for that acetate. Rare as it is, it's incomplete. Like, where's the other one?
Where's the other side?
Yeah, because it was 2 single-sided acetate plates. And the other one probably exists. I never seen it, but it's logical because it would have been the A side. So I'm betting it's out there. And I said, you're never going to get that much. But look, man, I will pay you this much. And I made him a fair deal. I didn't try and lowball him. And he wrote back and went, okay, I guess. And so I bought it and it's here. And that, as far as like something that you don't have, probably.
Yeah. That's
It
cool.
would be that. And otherwise, being an old guy, I was buying fall posters that are probably, yeah, I'm sure there's some fall collections out there that are just amazing. Mine is absolutely not one of them. I have a few like early posters, like a poster for Slates
Mm,
and things like that.
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of, with the Beggar's Banquet era, a lot of test pressings went out to like distributors, radio. And so finding fall 12-inch test pressings for like the 12 inches and the LPs, up to a few years ago, they were not exactly rare. I mean, they were around. And a record store I kind of grew up going into as a young person. The owner produced my first record, Skip Groff at Yesterday and Today Records. Skip had Beggar's Banquet fall test pressings like kind of every time I went into his store.
Huh.
Just because they were just around. Just
Huh.
because like Beggars was like servicing them to a bunch of people. Like
Sure.
Enemies, Sounds, Melody Maker, here, take a test pressing. And so I have a lot of test pressings of Beggar's Banquet era fall, but those aren't rare. Today on the Omega auction site, John Peel's acetate of slates sold off, and I haven't checked. I didn't bid on it.
No.
I don't have that kind of money, but it's going to go for quite a bit, I'm sure.
Sure. Yeah.
But I have a few maybe rare-ish posters,
Mm-hmm.
but I go on the fall site and look at what's out there, and I just die because I will never find. And so I have some things, but the rarest thing would be that acetate, maybe some early test pressings. And there's a really interesting pressing of Fantastic Life. What's the other side of the record? But there's two different pressings of it. There's actually a mispressing, and that was a green ink injection molded label pressing. There is a version where the A side and B side are reversed. The matrix etchings are different, and if you look at the one that you have, you'll see some of the information is crossed out.
Oh.
Because they pressed it in, it's a mispressing. So they had to rewrite the matrix information. And so it didn't even get as far as getting the paint put on the record. And a few of them mistakenly went out. And I've only seen one in my life, and I have it. So I bought it just because it looked interesting. I'm that guy with the mic with the magnifying glass, literally looking at matrix information, because if you know how to read it right, there's a lot of information in the matrix. And I went, wait a minute, and I brought out the other one, and I A-B'd them, and I transcribed all of it, and I'm like, wow. And I think in the latest volume of my Stay Fanatic book, I think that record is in there because I had to photograph it in such a way where the light hits the matrix etching, you can actually read it.
Are you gonna write another one of those Stay Fanatic books? I really enjoy those.
Oh, thank you. Sadly, I can't stop writing them. And so basically they're, as you know, they're by the year. And so I'm almost done with volume 5, which takes in 2019.
Oh, that's excellent.
And so I stopped writing that kind of way, Stay Fanatic entries in 2025. This year, I just wasn't feeling it. I'm doing a lot of research for other projects I'm doing. And on the weekends where I really do a lot of writing for that, I just wasn't in that headspace. So rather than force it and be fake, I just put that time into researching music projects, researching a lot of the things that I have. Like, where does this flyer come from and all of that? I have a lot of things. And I bought a couple of collections two summers ago that are like boxes of stuff. And I'm still slowly connecting dots with what's in those collections with things I already have.
Were those fan letters that were in the last volume of the Stay Fanatic? Was that part of that collection? Eater.
No, this is it's a different band.
Okay.
and who I have a lot of things of, but there's a guy, a big collector, and he's just aging out. He's like, okay, it just sits in boxes. And I said, look, can we talk? And it was 2 years of negotiation. And he finally went, okay, today's the day. And he priced everything and we made a deal. And from his collection, I've got parts 1 and 3. He had part 2. I'm like, aha, here we go. And because I have this contract and this contract, and in the collection is the handwritten notepad of the band's manager with all the dates handwritten.
Oh,
like,
cool.
okay, now I know some things that are not in any biography about this band. Because you found the right box of 50-year-old paper.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me up in the morning, the fact that the story's never over.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn about any band. And that's why you'll never hear me say I'm anything more than a student and a fan of any band. Because I'd be like, oh, you're a music expert. Not me. And anyone who tells you they are, we'll see.
Yeah.
Because it's like trying to say you can describe every grain of sand on a beach. There's too much human input into any band, genre, period of music, where at best you could be like an Egyptologist and you can study one king for your entire life, one dynasty, and kind of be knee deep in it and kind of know your way around the room, but you'll still bark your shins against the couch because you forgot where it is. And so now that I'm an old guy, that is my primary interest, is learning more about the bands that brung me to the dance.
Yeah.
And so if it's a band like the MC5, okay, well, show me the receipts. I want to see how much they got paid for that show. That show, that festival got canceled. Where's the contracts? Oh, you have them? Can I buy those from you? Why do you want contracts? So I want to see what everyone got paid. I want to see why the show got canceled. I want to see who the promoters were. It's like, oh, it's that guy. No one likes that guy. and there's so much to know.
Yeah.
And with the internet, so many people have put so many things on. Like, there's no photos of this band from this show. Yeah, there is. You just got to like get on the internet and dig.
Yeah.
Or know who to call.
Yep.
And I keep making these discoveries. Like, oh, my sister used to take photos of every band that came through her town. Like, I have some of the prints. You want to see them? Yeah. Lou Reed, Bowie. Like, your sister took these? Like, yeah, she was a fan. She's up front. Like, these are unpublished photos. And they're
beautiful.
They're sitting in like one of those cookie boxes, like those.
Yeah, the tin. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, is this interesting? I'm like, oh my God. Like, Lou Reed 72. And they're just sitting in a cookie tin. Oh yeah, my sister has all the negatives. Can I meet your sister? Like, there's all this history that's waiting to come out. And that's why, these great box sets come out, because they find, 5 hours of unreleased Link Ray, like in a box at his daughter's house. She says, yeah, it was in the attic. We didn't know what it was. Well, now we do. I just found the demo tape of one of my favorite punk bands on eBay. 8-track, 1-inch. And I just looked, it said 1979. It said, buy it now. And so I bought it then. And I wrote the drummer and I sent him a scan of the tape box. I go, what do you remember about this? He goes, yeah, I remember that session. I took it to a great studio here in town. I had Pete Lyman bake it and transfer it. He sent the tracks up to Ian Mackay, my best friend of 52 years. And I drove up to DC a few weeks ago, and Ian Mackay and we mixed that demo in the studio where we did our first records 40 some years ago.
Oh, wow.
With the engineer we did our first records with. He's the first guy to engineer Minor Threat. And we got these amazing mixes. And so I wrote, one of the members of the band and said, look, it's me and Ian. We're going to put our names on the sticker, unreleased, mixed by Henry and Ian. Please let me put this out. And he went, hurry. And so I'm working on the cover art now. And for fans of this band, here's like 3 songs that ended up on eventually on records, but not these versions.
Okay.
Mixed by, two major fans of this band whose names you might know. I'm going to, be the executive producer on this thing, but I'm not even looking to get my money back from the expenditure of the studio and the tape. I just want to do it. And so I've done this several times where I own the media, acetate, tape, or whatever, and I get the record out and I just pass all the money on to the bands. And I never take where I paid thousands of dollars to get that record out. I never talk about it. And so I'm not telling you which bands I'm talking about, but I just want for these songs to get heard.
Yeah.
For this flyer to get seen. It's one of the reasons the Stay Fanatic series is in an 8.5 by 11 format. And there's like 600 scans per book. Who scans those? Me. And that's, you want to stay up till 4 a.m. doing one thing over and over again. That's a scanning session. Thank goodness for caffeinated drinks. But, it's just an effort for me I'm just trying to get everyone as excited as I get about this stuff. A guy I know, he once gifted me with a spool of CDRs of fall shows, like 120 fall shows on CDR. And he trades, he gets things off the internet. And I'm a pretty busy guy. I can't do that all the time.
Right.
And I haven't even gotten like an inch into this spool.
That's cool.
But like the fall are like Dylan, someone's recording it. There's always a tape recorder going. There's always someone with a set list. So there's always more to know. And that Steve Pringle book is so much fun. Where he said, well, this song got played 33 times. How do you know?
Yep.
I mean, the caloric burn that guy put into making that book. Like every damn page is footnoted. And you're like, wow.
Yep.
I'm reading the book out of respect. I like it anyway.
Yeah.
And thank goodness it's like, 600 pages and hopefully it'll never end.
But even those guys on Annotated Fall are just like they're also digging into the archive of what people have posted, like when the show happened, right? And like finding stuff. It's really beautiful.
And arguing about the lyrics.
Yes.
He meant this. No, he meant that. Yeah. I can't go there. That. I like it when people treat music like those ESPN guys do with sports, where they get hyperbolic. You're out of your mind. How could you say that about Willie Mays or whatever?
That's the worst. That's the best. Yeah, for sure.
It's low impact. They're just having fun. They're all friends. But they're all like Stephen A. Smith is always like arguing with someone, but it's sports. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
You're arguing about people who make $50 million a year. But it's
fun. I want to ask you about that, Henry. What is your perspective of the American listener to the fall? Because some people tell us that you can't get the whole appreciation.
I think it's rare.
Yeah.
But just to finish that point.
Sure. Oh yeah, sure.
I just really admire how those people get like Dungeons and Dragons deep on fall lyrics.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like as if you can crack the cranial intellectual stronghold of Mark E. Smith.
No chance.
By just typing into a site address all night and arguing. I don't think it can be done, but the fun everyone can have trying. And the same thing gets done with Joy Division and, some of those bands. But with the fall, Mark E. Smith is kind of like James Joyce.
Yeah.
It's deep and sometimes impenetrable. Mm-hmm. And Pringle gets at that, like quite often. Like he's, quoting, like, here's this line, like, what the hell does he mean? Maybe he means this politician or this nanosecond in history. And I love that kind of speculation. When I was touring with music, from Austria, from Vienna to Budapest, it's a long drive. So what are you going to do for 8 hours? Argue about who's the greatest guitar player in rock and roll. Like, it's how you kill, it's how you murder hours on the Autobahn. And so I've had all of that, and I love those kind of fun arguments. But I will not get into it with a fall fan because I just don't understand them on that level. Because for some people, all they listen to is the fall.
Right.
That's too bad. In my opinion, is they're missing out on things.
Yes.
Food and sex and fresh air. and walks in the park. But as far as the American Fall fan, I'm an old guy and I come from the independent music world or punk rock or something, where back in my day, it could very well be the case. You'd be on 1 to 10 college radio stations a month on tour. Like you pull into Maryland, the University of Maryland, WMUC or whatever it is, says, hey, we want one of you guys to come in here and take control of the station for an hour. And I'm always the guy, Henry, go. And so I heard a lot of college radio. And in those days, college radio kind of was okay with the fall. Where maybe the records, it's like it's a scene out of High Fidelity. It's like where the guy at the store loves the fall, but a lot of people coming in will never get it. And so you'd hang out with some DJ types, and that's how I heard Totally Wired or the Jawbone and the Air Rifle or No Christmas for John Keyes. You're like, okay, but I was broke. Yeah. And a lot of those records were imports, which is like, 2 hours of minimum wage pay. And so those records weren't exactly all that available, especially if you're a broke ass guy in a indie band in a van. And so the American Fall fan, well, Americans were poorly served by the record industry because a lot of those records were imports for a while.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like the guy in where I come from who had a fall record was the same guy who had the Pink Flag record by Wire.
Yeah.
In that they're both.
Yeah.
And if you work for like $275 or $375 an hour, this is like when Carter was president. An import record is a day of scooping ice cream or, putting a hamburger together. And an import record is like, oh man, I can't afford it because I live in this apartment with 8 other stinking men. And like we're all living on top ramen noodles, Snickers bars, and hate. And like an import record, like an LP, a 7-inch maybe, but an LP was just a lot. And so someone had Pink Flag. That's like $16. And a lot of those bands were really cool, but it was the aficionado or the trust fund kid who had those records. And so the first time I became like a fall fan was when I was allowed to hear that really great fall, was it the fall 1977 to 79?
Yeah.
It was domestically released. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the graphic artist Raymond Pettibone.
Oh, yes. Love Raymond Pettibone.
Okay, yeah.
And the Black Flag. Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
His real name is Raymond Ginn. He's Greg Ginn's brother. In fact,
oh, they were related? I didn't know that.
they're
Okay,
brothers.
cool.
And
cool.
it was Ray who not only came up with the name Black Flag, he also came up with the logo.
Awesome.
And I asked him, I was like, what is that? The 4 bars. He goes, it's a flag. Rippling. I'm like, oh, of course. Like a flag diagonal coming down from the pole in the breeze with the sun hitting the folds.
Right.
I'm like, Ray, wow. And so I used to live on Ray's parents' floor. I was Ray's roommate for 3 years. And so I would come back from band practice and Ray would just have all those drawings, which are worth a houseboat now.
Yeah, right.
He would just sit in this broken easy chair and draw these drawings like on his father's mimeographed English lessons. His father was a teacher, that purple ink. And he would just throw them on the floor. And you'd have to walk around them. I would come back from band practice and carefully rescue them from the floor and put them on flat surfaces so the ink could dry. And Ray would drink this really insanely strong black tea, like loose leaf. You just put boiling water in a pot, drop a bunch of tea in it, and just cook it until it was black and drink it. And it would give you a headache and a third eye would come out of your forehead. And he had this amazing taste in music. So he would draw and listen to records. And I would just listen. I would hang out on the couch and write my crappy writing, watch Ray draw, and dig Ray's taste in music. And he had that fall record. And that's the first time I heard like 10 fall songs.
Yeah.
Side 1, side 2. And it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Marquis Cha-Cha. Like, what is this? It's just like there's nothing like that music anywhere. And right around that time, I met Nick Cave when the birthday party was in town. And when he said I said, who influenced you guys? He said The Fall.
Mhm.
And then I had to go back and listen to that record thinking that Nick Cave heard that record
Right.
and
Yeah.
relating it to Birthday Party and Boys Next Door records. And so when I wanted to, and then suddenly I'm no longer living on Ray's floor and there's no internet. And I
Mhm.
don't know anybody really who I was in touch with on a regular basis who could trail guide me through The Fall.
Mhm.
There's no books. There's no
Yeah.
real information in fanzines. And so one of my friends, he passed away a few years ago. He was a DJ in LA. And I would go crash at his house now and then and eat his food and make tapes because he always had money and food and a lot of records. And I would tape his Fall 7-inches.
Yeah.
And all I could afford was cassettes. I couldn't afford vinyl. I was really broke. But this guy, Randy, even Randy can't say, buy these records. And so I basically walked into the forest of the Fall, this wilderness, and just kind of got lost in it, like
Mm.
buying records like out of chronological sequence because I find one used. And then, being a touring guy, I'm in Europe all the time. And
Yeah.
not now, but a long time ago, there was a lot of record stores, a lot of vinyl. There still is in Europe, but not like there used to be. And
Mm.
in any German city, Hamburg, Frankfurt, there's killer new and used record stores. And on tour, I was making some money and I would buy used Fall records.
Mm.
I didn't buy a new one until like somewhere in the 90s,
Yeah.
just because I just didn't have the money. And I would just buy them used, and I got better versions later. But I would just kind of buy a Fall record because it was like $4.99 with like, a hole in it. And so, my early Fall was just, it's a 7-inch by the Fall. Drink, gotta have it. And it ends up being like City Hobgoblins.
Yes.
But it was available, kind of chewed up, much loved, at a small record store 2 blocks from where I'm playing in Dublin, Ireland that night.
Yep.
And so I just kind of had to find my way through this catalog, and no one I knew was a Fall fan because I live in America.
Yeah. Right.
Where in some parts of England, the Fall is a religion. It's like
Right.
Guinness. It's like Guinness beer.
Mhm.
But to put too many words on your good question, the American Fall fan, I have found, is usually a very smart, reads a lot, curious person
Mm.
who makes tapes at other people's houses. I've never met a Fall fan. It's like, hey man, I like the Fall. Like, damn, Marky Smith, man, isn't he something?
Yeah, that's my
Like,
boy, man.
yeah, like that. That's just, I've not met that Fall fan yet.
Mhm.
But in England, Manchester's a really rough town. Like, you want to get cut up in England, go mouth off to someone in a pub in Manchester.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get dropped. And if you listen to Fall live tapes, like live Joy Division tapes between songs, like, hurry up! Like, people are like really,
Yeah.
like they're not necessarily dumb, but they're really coarse. And I think some people, the Fall, they go see the Fall 10 times a year. The Fall, all these bands, they go to the pub after the show. You want to meet Buzzcocks? They're all at the pub after the show. You want to meet Joy Division? They're right over there. And like a lot of those British bands end up meeting tons of their fans. Like Captain Sensible has met like 30,000 Damned fans, and they all bought him a beer. But that's that British thing where you hang out and everyone gets a moment because you're not better than your audience.
Right.
And it gets very personal. Like, come on, Mark. Like, there's like people get into that, or if you've heard those like live Fall tapes where they're recorded from the back,
Yeah.
and it's just people doing Train Spotter, and they just talk through the.
Yep.
It was better last night in Bristol, wasn't it? Oh,
Yep.
you were there. Yeah, I got on the
Yep.
train this morning, mate. Yeah, and like you're not even listening to the show; you're just complaining, and the live tape just picks up these people. Oh, the song was 4 seconds shorter 2 nights ago. Like, oh my God. And that's why there's a set list from every damn Fall show, because those Train Spotters follow them like they're the Grateful Dead. Those listeners can teach you a thing or two about the Fall. But for such an interesting band, in England, they have this kind of like almost like NASCAR audience of these like loud, belligerent, Like, are you a fall fan? Yeah, what do you want to make it? I'm like, whoa, pal, take it easy. For the, they like beer. They love beer and the fall.
Yeah.
And they might have a fight on the way out. Where in America, that person doesn't exist because you're not going to see the fall 10 times a year every year because you live in America, and they might show up every other year and do like Chicago, Seattle, New York, and LA, and they're gone. And so I can't, there's a guy, I work at a radio station called KCRW, and the station's librarian, wonderful guy. He passed away a few years ago, Eric J. Lawrence. And if you've ever suffered through my little radio show, you'll notice I play a fall track every week.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah.
And I always dedicate it to Eric J. Lawrence because he's no longer with us. But when he was alive, I dedicated to him anyway. And the fall was his favorite band. And I would have fall arguments with him. Like a later fall album would come out. I don't love those records. I must be honest. I just, they're good. But, I don't love them like I love other ones. Sure. And I go, okay, our future, your clutter, or whatever. I go, defend it. He's like, well, Henry, you just got to give it a chance. Like I played it like 10 times last weekend. I'm like, no, come on. It's no Hex Induction. I was like, well, you listen to it, at like 3 a.m. It kind of is. Like he would, like he was just like, he's like a yes man. For the fall. I'm like, God, you're the best, Eric J. There's not a fall moment where he can't vigorously defend. Yes. Oh, no, it wasn't his gun. No, he's innocent. And I miss him. He was just people really loved that guy. Yeah. And he was the fall fan at KCRW besides me. Yeah. And in America, like when you guys emailed me, because I don't like doing podcasts, because I always talk too much. I feel like a drunk horse's ass at the end of it all.
No way. No.
No. Because I blab too much. But when you guys said we want to talk about the fall, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
an American? Because on the last tour I was in England, and the BBC wanted me to do something. I'm like, nah. And it was the guy who wrote The Fallen. Was it Dave Thompson?
Yeah, Dave Simpson.
Simpson, sorry. No insult to Dave Simpson. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I said, will it be Dave Simpson interviewing? I'm like, wait, the guy who wrote The Fallen? They went, yeah. I said, I just want to meet him.
Totally, yeah.
So we did the interview, and it was just fun because you can talk to that guy about the fall. And so he had questions for me, but I had more questions about him and his amazing book, which I will definitely read another time before I die. I really want to read it again. I also want to reread The Big Midweek as well. There's such
excellent
work. It was fun having a conversation with a British fall fan who didn't kind of hold their great vast information and knowledge over my head. I hate the condescending smart person where, there's some people have done, television shows with. You're like, okay, you're smart. We get it. Stop using it as a cudgel to cave my forehead in. And so I've gone to the fall site, and I have posters and flyers for shows they don't have. And I sent them JPEGs. I'm like, hey, I pulled the poster out. Here's a photo of the poster for that show. I noticed it's not on your site. And I did that. Like, here's 15 JPEGs. Like, and I don't want to thank you. Just pop them on if you want. I've never heard back. Maybe it's just, Henry Rollins, the loudmouth yank or whatever. But I gave them cool content.
Yeah, definitely. It fits what they want.
That their excellent site, and it is excellent.
It is excellent,
Their excellent site is lacking. And I just wonder if they just have an attitude like, what does he know? Like, I know nothing. I'm just a fan. And, I kind of come into music like a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, what album do you like the best? I don't know, man. I just like the way when I talk about jazz, I get challenged. Like, well, why do you like this ear of John Coltrane? I don't know. He just sounds like he's really, trying to do something. Well, what's he trying to do? I don't know, man. I can't tell you what modal means. I just put on the record and I feel good. And I put on a fall record, and why do I like it? I wish I could answer that.
That's why the fall is so fun. It's just like it's fun for Steve and I to try to express ourselves the way it makes us feel, and it's like never-endingly challenging. But it's something. There's something to that too that's so intriguing and fun.
And maybe this is your experience, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of music in your life, a lot of really good music. No band does that thing to you that the fall does.
Yeah,
And I just wish I could describe it.
right.
And I have to kind of ration myself because I've written about this and talked about this a lot, is I have two kinds of listening, at least: carbohydrate listening
Right.
and protein listening. And I think there's something to that, because for a guy with a radio show, I got to keep listening to new stuff, lest I become some old guy who goes back in my day. And so I'm buying records by people a fraction of my age. Good. And whenever I go to a gig, I'm usually the oldest person there. Fine,
Yeah.
I don't care. Who cares? But that's protein listening. Like tonight, I'm going to put on like two records I haven't heard before. I heard them on Bandcamp, sounded good. I bought them. And I'm going to listen to them and take notes, like for the radio show. I'll play that one and that one and that one. That's protein listening. That's like clap push-ups. I'm working. I'm listening. I'm trying to get into it. I'm taking notes. And then on the weekends, it's carbohydrate time. The Damned, Buzzcocks, Joy Division, The Fall, these records that I love. And I can tell you why I like The Damned. God, I love The Damned. And I love The Fall. And in some ways, The Fall, besides the Stooges, might be my other favorite band. But I like them in completely different ways.
Sure.
Like for me, the Stooges is like heaven, earth, fire, water. Like it's just carbon-based. It's like true like life and fossils. It's like true like dinosaurs.
Yeah. It was always there, right? It was always there for yeah.
Yes. And when I first heard the Stooges, I was like, oh, because it made punk rock sound different to me. I'm like, oh, they all have Stooges records.
Yeah.
And then you see all those bands, they all covered the Stooges, or they're all wearing an Iggy button. You're like, I got it, because you can hear it in the music. And so, but with The Fall, I can't tell you why I like those records, but damn, I don't know what I would do if for some reason they were all taken away from me.
Right.
Like, I really need those records. Like, I really need those records.
Yeah.
And when I put on like Wonderful and Frightening, I just think it's like one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. Disney's Dream Debased. That's just like 5 minutes of my life is so much better right now. Or Eat Yourself Fitter, on Perverted by Language. Like what's the track? It's the name of your website on Perverted by Language. I'm not always good with song titles. Where Mark goes, "We are the fall," right at the end of the song.
Oh, Neighborhood of Infinity.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
You're sharp. And that's just one of my favorite moments in recorded music, where Pringle goes, well, he announces the band. What's up with that? I'm like, really? It's the coolest moment on that record.
Yeah.
It's just so bitchin'. Like he just announces, we are the fall. You're like, yeah, you are. and those records, where you just put on like the Beggars B-sides, or, if you have a hard drive, I'm in these situations where I have to sign 2,500 books, first pressing of one of my books. And I've done this where I just put on the Fall Peel session, the hard drive. It's like 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm happily listening to the Fall as I'm writing my name over and over. And you just hear the Fall go through all these changes. And I've done that cycle where I've played the whole thing in one go, easily 4 or 5 times in my life. And like you just hear this band change, but the through line is Mark. But the band, it's like, wow, how can one guy achieve all that? I can't defend my affection for the Fall in that I can't define them. Like, what is it? It's fall music. Is it punk? No. Is it post-punk?
No. It's a singular thing. It's singular.
You can't put it in that tent if you had to.
Sure.
Like Scritti Politti, Gang of Four, Joy Division, sure. But really, no.
Mm-hmm.
And Joy Division to me is classic post-punk, like PIL. Like it defines the genre, where the Fall only defined themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like you really, there's no bucket they really fit into. For convenience's sake, you can go kind of sort of the era of Buzzcocks, Joy Division, and those bands that kind of came after Sex Pistols, Clash, whatever. But that's just for convenience's sake.
Yeah.
You really boil it down. There's no band in British music history that I know of, not even like Bevis Frond, who's very prolific. There's never been any band that's been that prolific who has 40 records out. Like, not Zeppelin, and not I don't even think the Rolling Stones have. And they've been around for like 168 years. And more often than not, the records are really good. I mean,
All
it's
interesting, yeah.
all interesting. And all is kind of, it's, in some ways, kind of the most astonishing band. Like there's other bands I know where, in my opinion, there's no bad songs. There's just not much of it. Like the Birthday Party. In my opinion, there's no bad Birthday Party songs. Like all those, like there's like 4 records, and all of them are ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Like you can't figure out how they did that. There's just not a ton of it. There's like, a kind of a 5-year span. And then, they broke up and Nick went solo, and that's good too. But it's this amazing chunk of perfect music. But the Fall did that for like 15 years of like, how, like, whoa. And I just don't know of any band, no one has that intellectual engine. And who do you compare them to? The closest, would be, Dylan, where like you're really listening to the lyrics. What's he saying? What does he mean? Like, give me the lyric sheet. I want to, he's saying it too fast. I didn't understand. I really want to read what he said. It's like going to see a Shakespeare play is one thing. Reading the play.
Right.
Devastating. Like Hamlet, you go see it, it's great. Reading Hamlet will blow your mind. The genius of it.
Right.
I've read, I'm no expert. I've read a fair bit of Shakespeare because it goes too fast when I'm sitting there.
Right.
You read it and you can really slow down and take it in. Forget it. And with Marquis Smith, people sit there and try and untangle the lyrics like people do with Dylan. In my opinion, Dylan wrote things just to fool people, just to be clever a lot of times. You don't need a weather vane to know which way the wind blows. That's cool, but it's also really clever, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But Marquis Smith isn't trying to be clever. He's just kind of assaulting you with his intellect. And that's what I've described Fall music as. Like, he's just kind of bitch slapping you.
Yeah.
Like, the opening moments of the classical. Like, here's the smartest guy in the room.
Yep.
Just going bat, 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 boom, bat. Like, and he's just like, he's nothing with his fists. It's just going to be the front of his brain pan.
Right.
Going, welcome, enter the dragon Bruce Lee on you. Dylan is just like, aren't I crafty? You're like, yeah, you are. I'm quite the fan. Where Marquis Smith is like, this stuff has to come out of me. And every morning I wake up and there's like the piss jar is full of this venom again, and it has to come out. And like, that's why this album has like 15 B-sides, because we just couldn't stop. The guy has so many lyrics. I just don't know if there's a comparison as far as volume, intellectual density, and sheer kind of brilliance, where you realize there's some of this I don't get. And I'll have to read a book like Pringles, where he just took a year to break it down for me, the plebe, the pedestrian, to go, oh, thanks. Where for Marquis Smith, it's like written on the back of a beer coaster.
Yeah. Yes.
It becomes a song on slates. You're like, forget it.
Yeah.
And no one's done that with music like Marquis Smith. Like, not even close. He has no comparable analog.
Henry, I don't want to take all your whole afternoon, but we can literally talk about the Fall for forever, like Steve and I, and we will.
Did you guys have any questions that I talked over that you actually wanted to ask? That would.
We have a bunch more questions, honestly.